Welcome to the Outer Realm with myself, Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. We are broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM in New Orleans. Just a little reminder, in order to participate in tonight's show, you'll need to pop on over to YouTube, head over to the United Paranormal Radio Network. Well, tonight, actually, it's going to be the United Public Radio Network, so sorry about that. Go to the United Public Radio Network. And if you already haven't subscribed, please do. And that's where the chat room is going to be. And they're going to only be able to interact with us there. You'll be able to interact with Amelia, myself, our guest. But please, guys, we're in the middle of an interview. If there's something that you want Amelia to see, please tag her. This will get her attention, and this way we can make sure that your questions and comments are basically, projected over to the guest, who tonight will be Steve Burgess, and we will be discussing past life regressions. So get ready for that. Put your seatbelts on. Sounds like it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Ooh, right?
So,
I'm
you
so
betcha.
excited. I've been waiting for this for a long time. Been waiting for this for a while.
And
I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this for a long time. Yeah. EFT as well, which is something that I do and I've been doing for a long time. And it's one of those things that you just, because you do it so often and so automatically, you forget until I'm reading his bio and reading about him. And I'm like, oh my God, EFT, I do that every day. Every day.
Right.
Yeah. But it's very kind of him to be
Hi, Joe.
with us. I know. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe. I can still see you. Oh my gosh. Anyway.
They don't call us professional for nothing.
Yeah. I'll just have to send him a little
Usually we don't see him at all.
I know. Maybe he just plans on joining in the fun. I don't know. But anyway. Okay. There we go. Awesome.
That's okay. It's all good. It's all good. Wow. Yeah. So I'm in the chat room, just waiting for people to join us.
This is me.
What the hell? Hi, Zach. Oh my God, why does it feel like Monday? And we're giddy, and it's only 9.
I've been rolling for 3 days, same way. So,
like, really?
Yep.
I'm going to give you just a brief bio because I know he'll be coming in shortly, momentarily. Reading about him and found out about him through a friend. We have a mutual friend, and he told me all about him, and he just adores him, loves him, follows him everywhere. A full-time hypnotherapist in East Yorkshire, England, and Norway, having completed 15,000 one-on-one therapy sessions. Former vice chair of the UK Guild of Hypnotist Examiners, an authority on hypnotic regression, as well as advanced EFT practitioner and NLP master. Author of Famous Past Lives and the Power of Past Life Regression, which can also be found in audio, is our amazing, incomparable guest, Steve Burgess, tonight. My gosh, I have like a million questions. We usually ask for talking points, and all of these have already been on my list. They're already there. But if you're interested in regression, if you're interested in knowing what EFT is, a form of tapping, and how it benefits you, we'll be able to talk to him about that as soon as Joe gets him on.
Oh, Joe. Yeah. It might be a bit of a lag. We are going all the way over the pond, over to the UK, so it's very late over there. So he's a champion for hanging in there. So
my gosh!
To do our show.
I'm like, are you sure you can do this? Yeah. I will also forward him the link.
Okay, so it's link time, is it? Okay.
The link I had already done. I'm just gonna let him. I'm gonna email Steve the link as well. Here, I thought I had like perfect timing with the bio, but again, in chat, on YouTube only. So if you're listening to us on Spotify or SoundCloud or iTunes, or my gosh, there's so many, iHeartRadio, Podbean, oh my goodness, there's Twitch, BitTube, Spreaker, whatever you're listening to us on. If you want to communicate with us via chat, it's by YouTube only while we're live, okay? But yeah, there's live link. I'm gonna let him know, live link. And Joe should be contacting him momentarily, right?
For some reason, it's not letting him pick up. It's I've tried 3 times now. It's calling him right now, but it's I don't know. I got it's the right name because it found him right. See, but it just dropped him out for some reason.
Yeah.
I wonder if I just put his name in, if that would make a difference. Let's try that.
Steve Burgess. Yeah, I kept a screenshot of. I'm losing my voice. Everybody here.
No, when I put in his name, when I put in his Skype nick, he found his regular name. I'm gonna try it by his name, see if it just makes a difference. Because I see his nick right there when I do it, but it's not showing. Oh Jesus, there's like 1,000 of these guys. He's in Great Britain, huh?
I got on Facebook. He's not. Yes, he's in the UK.
Okay, he's not in
Should
Australia.
be Dreaming Hawk 11.
Well, yeah, I've tried that one. I'm just trying a name now.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm going both ways. Let's try it like that too. I'm gonna try both of them. There we go. Now we got 2 of them calling him. If we get some other strange Steve in here, I don't know what to tell you. It says calling Dreamhawk 11.
That would be his.
Then it says unavailable.
I wonder if he forgot to put.
Let him know. Well, he might not just have a Skype open, or he might not see a Skype ringing. But it found him, no problem. I mean, but it doesn't have a little green circle around him or nothing like it usually does.
Yeah. Well, it's just ain't a thing, is it?
He's scared of the Grey Girl. That's what it is.
Could be. Gosh darn it! Honestly.
Yeah, wait. Well, I'm gonna keep trying to call him. I'm hitting him again right now.
I'm just emailing him because it's not like I can text him, right? So
I agree, Moth. I am way too sexy for radio, baby. I know. But it happens, somebody's got to do radio, so.
Get a room, man.
It's just better when you see me in person, and it's stunning.
But why? Oh,
get
there he
a
is.
room.
Okay. He just emailed me back, Joe.
It's okay, baby. I'll hit him back in again. I'm hanging out with John until he gets here.
Well, aren't we lucky?
And then I'm going
so
to get
what's new with you? Pardon?
Bourbon, some shit like that. I could get that out for nothing.
I don't.
Let's see what's new with me. I screamed at T-Mobile today. I screamed at the cable company today. Screamed at come up here. I've just been in one of them, screaming moods today. I don't like being lied to. I get upset when people lie to me. It's one of the few things that makes me upset.
He said nothing ringing here.
Zamvoid says, I love your Earth. Well, I love Earth too. It's a pretty planet. You're in Power Talk? Wow, that's freaky. I didn't even see. Let's try it again. Okay. Yeah, see on my end, it's not even showing anymore. It just shows me his name.
He said nothing's ringing there.
There it goes again. Calling Dreaming Hawk 11.
Well, maybe just have him call in. If possible.
Yeah, he can call in his station. I thought we had him. Nope. It says unavailable. It just keeps saying he's unavailable. He might need to restart his Skype or something.
All right.
That happens sometimes. You got to restart Skype.
Hi, Jessica. And hello, 13 past midnight. I like it. Hello, Jessica. Hello. We
Jessica.
are. You behave yourself, man.
Yeah, I can tell I've been insane.
This is a freaking family show.
It's just family stuff. Okay. All families should meow together, purr together, and stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, just give him a number to call in. No.
He can call, well, I don't know if he can call in from the UK because it costs him a small
I don't know because I think you have to use credits and things like that for calling in.
Hey,
we'll
can you
give
you a phone number? We could just call him in audio, call him the old-fashioned way.
It might let me call him on Skype. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does. We have a paid account for that, but it doesn't always work.
Dang.
So it does a lot of times, but you never know when you're calling UK, Australia, places like that. And it's, you know what it might be? Oh no, it's late over there. See, the problem with the United States is we think everybody in the world's awake. So right now, America's calling the whole world because they're awake. Even though it's 1 o'clock in the morning in the UK, we don't care. We're still waking people up. It's one of the busiest time for phone lines. In the old days, if you tried to call the UK and this time of day, you'd have to wait sometimes an hour before the phone lines would clear up. It could be the same thing. It could be overload, but I don't know. Skype's all working fine. Everything's doing what it's supposed to be. It's calling everybody else it's supposed to be calling.
Hopefully he's restarting Skype and we'll take it from there. What's our chat room look like?
We don't usually have issues calling into the UK, though. We really don't.
Usually we don't. Lately it's been, I shouldn't say that out loud, but lately it's been pretty good. Last couple of years, it seems like the systems have gotten better.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume he's restarting because he hasn't responded to perhaps restart your
He might just fell asleep sitting in his chair. I've done it before.
Hold on. Just signed out and signed in again. Okay.
Yeah, I was doing a late night, midnight show in New York, and I fell asleep. And I remember I kept hearing a fucking phone ring at 1 o'clock, and then I realized it would go like a half hour late. Oh shit, I'm supposed to be on air. I got jumping up. And so I'm all apologizing. The guy's laughing his ass off.
You can hit him again, Joe. He just signed out and signed in again.
You Canadian women are so violent.
Please and thank you. Violent? You mean?
Smack this poor guy around while I'm trying to call him and stuff. I'm telling you. You see how these Canadian women
don't you be freaking warning him either, Joe.
I try not to. Yeah. I said somebody said something to me. Well, Michelle's not like. I said, hell yes, she just locked down, won't let me meet him. I said she keeps him in a cage. Then the other day I seen him handcuffed to the arm thing. I was like, what is she can't even get out the place.
Freaking wishes. Never mind.
Oh my gosh.
We're locked down in this place, people.
If anything, I'm the one who's whipped.
No.
Oh my gosh.
I don't put up with any crap.
I don't think all men are a pain in the ass.
You know.
Oh, yeah, we basically all agree to that.
I think we all have.
Whoever wrote that in the chat room, I'm not hating on a species. If you're a man and you don't know you're a pain in the ass, and you're lying to yourself. Just deal with it.
Coming from a man, it did not come from us. Just saying.
My wife does nothing. I said, I know, babe. That's why I buy you jewelry and stuff because I'm a pain in the ass.
That's good. That's a good start.
Buying the jewelry.
You're a pain in the ass. That's how you got to be.
It gets really bad when you start going to the shop yourself to get it. You want me to call you? Yeah, sure. Okay. What does he have to dial? United Public Radio?
Yeah, United Public Radio. Last time she went and got her Australian opals, she said, "Oh, here, pay for these." Like, pay for what? She said, "Oh, they're ordered. Just pay for them." I'm like, "Oh, okay. All right, baby, sure." I'm like, we get up, pick some money at the money tree in the backyard. She's easy. That's when we go. She's easy.
Zach, man, I'm a pain in the butt. My fiance reminds me all the time. Atta girl.
Do I need a phone number or just United Public
Radio? United Public Radio. It should be. That's all it is. Or you can look up my name, Joe Montalvo, but either way.
Okay. Let's hope this works.
Sorry,
I don't
everybody.
use to tell people
Sorry,
Joe
everybody.
because I got 3 accounts and it gets confusing.
We are trying.
While he's calling us, we're gonna try calling him too. See the little blue thing? I don't know if y'all can see the little blue thing down there. I can. Elizabeth. Oh, Elizabeth Warren. Are you like some crazy liberal? Is that why you got that name, Elizabeth Warren? Just teasing it. Don't hate on me. This ain't my show. I'm just hanging out here, people. My show is
causing all the damn problems. What you're doing.
All cute and innocent. Like y'all can't see me, but I'm being cute. Yeah, it don't matter if you can't see me. I know.
So we know what you're doing. We don't need to see you. We know exactly what you're doing.
Music.
You freaking heathen.
Are we having any luck with him calling in? Good lordy.
You can't afford to see me strip. Whoever wrote that, you cannot afford to see me strip. You better be damn like Rockefeller or something.
Wow. Oh my God. God help us now.
Oh man, I am not a cheap date, people. I'm just telling you. Well, no, because you got to buy my wife something. She's like, she don't mind sharing. She just wants gifts, and she likes like $50,000-$80,000 gifts. You know, no cheap shit.
Oh, you better be worth it.
I'm always worth it. That's not the issue there. No one's ever complained. That's not the problem.
My gosh. So we are trying to talk about regressions. And I mean, I think everybody at some point in their lives consider what they were in a past life. Or of course, I do always kind of chuckle how everybody's famous. I'm not saying nobody is, you know, but there's a lot of lives. You can't be famous in all of them, if at all, you know. But there's a lot of just mundane lives, just kind of like the ones we're living right now, you know. But it's always interesting because Edgar Casey used to really, you know, they called him the sleeping prophet. And when people had ailments or fears or phobias, he would go into his trance and he would work with them, tap into them, and find out what they were in a last life. And he was able to help them with their phobias just by tapping in and say,
I can see y'all again. Join call.
Thank you.
Ladies, let's see.
I think everybody's so fascinated by past lives because it's just that curiosity of who was I? What did I do? What did I learn? And we're still on with you, Joe.
No, I just copied his number totally and put it in a box, and it says he doesn't exist. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. It's
no.
What the bleep is that?
Crazy. You know, sometimes I did a show with someone in the UK every week. He was in Cornwall, actually. And sometimes it just wouldn't connect. It was just crazy.
No, tell him to try again. It was going to let him in, and then it just said, nope, you ain't coming in.
Kicked him out. That's just bizarre.
I don't know what that was all about. Let me try while y'all doing that. I'm going to try this again. Let's try this, Nick. Unless I just missed something when I was typing, which is not beyond the realm of possibility. Since it don't let you copy and paste anything anymore.
But
okay,
anyway,
this is it right here.
I can try that again.
I'm just trying.
I'm
seeing my numbers go down. Joe, get on it.
I'm going to I see them going down too because I hit almost 2 million listeners.
Just under 3 million now.
6, yeah.
6,900,000. No.
Yeah.
So he would literally have to fall asleep to go into this trance. It's not something he could do while he was awake.
No, and his wife would record him. You know, he's just a real humble man. He's a farmer, and this is very, very gifted, and just started doing this thing. And people will come from everywhere to hang, you know, and be read by the sleeping prophet. Yeah, but he hit on everything, and he would work with people with their phobias after that, and then they would be just like. It's funny how you can have a phobia, but once you have an understanding of it, it's like, oh, okay, I'm good now. I guess it just gives you like that explanation. I've never had a phobia, so I guess I've been pretty fortunate. For me, it's always been a healthy curiosity of just like, I want to know what I was, you know, and I would have family members go get readings and, oh, you guys are all this in a past life. I'm like, what? That doesn't even resonate with me.
You know? No.
Yeah.
I know.
So it took a while for my mother to just break it to me that you're not really a princess, so stop it.
What? Steve talks about that. How
we're all princesses.
He talks about how
that's what I said, Joe. Thank you.
I'm just saying we're all
emailed me to
Joe's
say
a princess too.
It started to ring and then stopped when you.
Yeah,
when
but
you
it wanted to put him
ago.
into a separate conversation than us. It wanted to put him somewhere else. I don't know why it's doing that.
try him again, Joe.
Oh yeah, I'm
sorry.
trying nonstop, sweetie.
I
While I'm talking to you, we're
know.
steady dialing.
So
I don't
Zachman
know what
says,
else to do.
Zach says, my past life regression came in a recurring dream. Turns out it was in the mob in New Orleans back in 1920s. I was shot and set on fire. Oh my God, as I compromised an illegal distillery. That's freaking horrible.
Maybe that's why he's hooked on the cigars.
I wonder. Have you had any like repercussions from that, like in this life? You know,
yeah,
like
it's curiosity.
just write it. Yeah, just write it in chat. Like, do you have any phobias or fears?
Fires?
Yeah, he's scared. Who's not scared of a fire on an average? But I was shot, set on fire.
Let me see something.
Well, he likes to have a cigar and have a toddy, so we know there's nothing with the booze or the smokes. So it's like, it's got to be something. That's craziness. See, not glamorous, but wow, what an impact that would be. And New Orleans, no less.
Okay, so we're gonna do that one. We're
airing
live. Look, y'all might get an invite in a minute here, ladies. If you do, just accept it. I'm gonna try something different here. I don't know how this is gonna work, but we're gonna give it a shot. Yes, people, we live. Sometimes we gotta do crazy.
Don't go anywhere, guys. Stay in the chat.
No,
really, I'm looking forward to this. We were talking about regression.
Stayed awake just to come on tonight.
Yeah, but we were talking about regression before y'all showed us. Okay, here we go. Let's see what this does. Done. Creating a shiny new group.
Thank you, Jessica. Thumbs up.
Poor Jess.
Why am I not seeing anything?
Luca must be asleep.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, fingers crossed. Luca and Julian are crashed, Jess.
I just made a new group and it wouldn't even send y'all an invite.
That's crazy. This is frustrating beyond.
Okay.
And there it was again. It started to ring, and again the same one. Okay, he said. Okay, I said Joe's still trying. Okay. Oh.
So there's definitely a technique, I think, to regressions. I'm sure Steve will be able to elaborate on. I once met a woman on a ghost tour I was doing. And she was struggling from headaches for a really long time. And I said, well, when did they start? That's crazy. She goes, when I got a regression. And she goes, he seemed to have brought me in and brought me down very easily. And I was able, to go in very easily. And then I guess he.
Hello. 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 Can you hear me? Hello. 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 Hello.
Okay.
Oh, hello.
No, now we've got.
Hi.
Hello.
I am so sorry. How are you?
Okay.
Michelle just got bumped out. She's coming right back. How are you, Steve? Welcome finally to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight.
That's okay. That's okay. Hi, Michelle.
Back and she's been dropping and coming back. And Joe is coming back. Skype's been quite a tyrant tonight.
I actually kicked everybody out so I could get y'all together. For some reason, they did not want to let him in the queue with you two. It was like, no matter what I did, it was just not letting him in there. It's like, nope. I said, well, you want to be like that? We'll start the damn queue over. How's that?
Okay. We need Michelle too, Joe.
Who's Michelle? You got a co-host? You don't have a co-host.
Michelle, we have a co-host.
Are you sure?
I hope you had some coffee, Steve.
No, because
Steve looking good, man. Good looking guy you got on here with you.
It was great for someone who's up at 2:30.
Yeah, it's 2:30 in the morning here, so I'll do my best to sort of make sense of while I'm talking.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Sleep halfway through.
It's only 9:30 here, and you sound a lot more coherent than I do. So you're doing great. Are you kidding me? We're just waiting for Michelle to come back on.
I'm not going to do it with Michelle. What the hell? I'm sorry, guys.
Is my sound okay? Is this mic okay? Because I'm just using the mic on the webcam.
You're perfect.
Okay?
Thank
right,
you.
Okay.
Yeah, I recognized your voice right away because I was listening to your YouTube channel, which I shared on our Facebook page as well.
Oh, great. Thank you.
That is so amazing. I love anything like that. And of course, we have a mutual friend, John Wooler, who told me all about you. Yes, there's Michelle.
Damn, Mercury retrograde.
All right, we got all y'all. We got everybody in this damn queue now. Okay, guys.
It's like finally.
Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. Let you go. Y'all take as much time as y'all need tonight since we burned like 20
minutes. Thank you, Joe, and thank you everybody for holding on with us, and especially in the chat room on YouTube. And again, just a reminder, if you have questions, we'd like to take them at the end in the last segment. Just make sure that you put @ in front of my name so that I can see it, and I'll scroll back up, and I will be more than happy to read your questions. So, okay, Michelle, I've had a chance to talk to him, and you haven't had a chance to speak. We were talking a little bit about regression before we came on.
Yes, we were. Yeah, sorry. I'm just online here.
And Michelle was referring to how a lot of people like to say that, who was I? Was I this famous, infamous person, which is always the one that everybody's looking for. And I read in your notes that you said you have yet to meet Cleopatra.
Wow.
Well, funnily enough, I did actually I had an interview last year with an online radio show, and a lady somewhere in the States claims to have been the reincarnation of Cleopatra. And they actually put her on the phone line with me, and I talked possibly to Cleopatra. So maybe I have met Cleopatra, but maybe not. It's difficult to say. But what I will say, that's the big myth. That's one of the big myths that everybody thinks in a past life they've been Henry VIII, Cleopatra, or somebody famous. And although I have met some famous people in regression sessions, I've wrote my first book about them. 99% of people are just, in past lives, were ordinary soldiers, peasants, workers, etc., etc., etc. So that is the real myth. The vast majority of people have not been famous at all. They've just been ordinary people as we are.
I just think they're just waiting. I believe they're out there, darn it. And if you get Cleopatra, I want to know where she's buried. It's just that simple. It's the big freaking question right now in Alexandria. Where is she
your
buried?
Grave.
I know. See, that's
under
a trick
lots
question
of
you can
sand,
use.
Michelle. No, it's an easy answer. Under a lot of sand. Lots of sand.
Yeah. So let's see if you're really Cleopatra. It is a magic question. Where the hell are you? But why don't we just, since we're just getting started, and for everyone who doesn't know, what exactly is regression?
Okay. Very simply, regression just means to go back into the past. So we all regress naturally. If you start thinking about something you did last week or yesterday, you've regressed. So regression is a natural process. In therapy terms, because obviously I'm a hypnotherapist, it means going back in trance to relive something that's happened in the past. And as a regression-based therapist, because most of my work revolves around regression, I take my clients back into 3 areas. We regress back into this life, very often into childhood, but sometimes into the time of our birth. So we do what's called rebirthing. We can even go back into the womb before birth. I take clients very often back into past lives and also into ancestors' lives. So we often inherit ancestral trauma, and that has to be released as well in order for us to live freely. So regression in a therapeutic terms means going back in trance, in a hypnotic state, to relive something that's happened in the past. And generally, that's about releasing the emotion, the trauma that has been stored in some event or some experiences in the past, which are causing problems now in our present lifetime. And so that's basically what regression is. In past life terms, we do a lot of death trauma release. So I would say that probably 60% of therapy is, in past lives, is releasing traumatic deaths, which are affecting us now in different ways.
That's interesting. When you say ancestral trauma, is that what some people would call like DNA imprinting?
Well, it could be. I mean, first of all, I'm talking about ancestors in our bloodline. So that's parents,
Yes.
grandparents, great-grandparents,
Yes.
etc.
Right.
And when I first sort of got into the ancestral trauma stuff, regression stuff, I believed that it was stuff that was inherited through our genes, through the DNA, etc. However, I have found there are some clients where it's not possible for it to have come through the genes, but they have still inherited ancestral trauma almost energetically. It's like an energy that can come through, which is a bit more strange, but still very, very powerful. But generally, it is in the genes, generally.
How many generations do you have to go back before, you come up to the determination that it can't be, like in this case that you're mentioning, like it couldn't be?
Well, actually, what it tends to be is, let's say my client subconscious shows that the mother has had a trauma and they've inherited the trauma from the mother.
That makes
Now,
sense.
what you would expect is that the trauma should have taken place before my client was born, because then it gets passed down through the genes. But actually, sometimes my client can inherit a trauma after they're born that happened to the mother. So that's what I mean by an energetic thing. It doesn't seem to be in the genes. It seems to be like an energy that comes through. But sometimes we can go back many, many generations. I know shamanically, they often talk in shamanism about going back and healing 7 generations back. And I must admit, it's usually no more than 7 generations back that we go back. And in fact, it's very often our great-grandparents where the trauma is. I would say a lot of ancestral trauma is from our great-grandparents. I think they had a terrible time in those periods, in the wars, between the wars. And there's so much trauma that can come through from there.
So it just stays in the genes and gets passed down to the mother, usually, I guess. Yeah, that's interesting.
So, and it can be remarkable how it comes through. But once we release that, then the trauma gets, the problem gets better. So, of course, regression is about healing traumas, healing problems, and any issue, any problem that can come, that a client brings or we go to the doctors with, could come or normally comes from locked in feelings and emotion from the past. So this can be depression, it can be anxiety, it can be phobias, it can be pain, it can be overeating, it can be addictions, it can be sexual problems, it can be, you name it, any problem that we have in our lives that stops us from living freely is probably coming from traumas in the past. And when we release the trauma, the problems gets better.
So you release the trauma basically because you're a hypnotist also. So does that happen by implanting better thoughts or working it out? Because I always found it interesting how you can, like we were just talking about this before we brought you on, how once just simply being aware of where the trauma or the phobia, let's say, comes from, people, some people just kind of go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. And then it's just like, okay, on my life. But other people, it's just like, how do you pull them out of that? To those who just need more.
Okay. The regression model all of our issues come from locked-in feelings and emotions from past traumas, feelings and emotions. So in most cases, what we're doing is going into the emotions, into the fear, the anger, the sadness, the guilt, the anxiety. There are 5 negative emotions that we carry as human beings. We go into those and we release them. So people, usually there's a lot of crying involved. So there can be crying, there can be shaking. Occasionally, in the more dramatic cases, sometimes people are screaming and yelling and writhing in order to release it. Occasionally it can be very, very dramatic. So generally, it is about releasing the emotion or the feeling. If a person is locked in a lot of fear, then the body shakes and it moves, and that's how it releases it. Quite frankly, it isn't fun. It isn't fun, but it's very, very powerful and incredibly effective.
Amelia, you want?
Thank you. I was going to ask you, with people who come to you with emotional pain, sometimes shame accompanies that. Do you find that hinders the process of regression?
No, it could make it a little bit more complex, but it doesn't hinder it. What usually happens is that when the client is in the experience, then the conscious mind is still thinking, of course, because when we're in hypnosis, we're still conscious. We're just sort of more relaxed inside ourselves. But they're still aware of what's happening, and they can make sense of things. As Michelle said, very often just getting an understanding of a problem, then the problem goes. So it may be, for example, somebody may say, oh, so that's why my mother's never liked me. That's why I've always had a problem with my mother. In that past life, I killed her, or she killed me.
That would do it.
That would do it, yeah.
Well, it makes sense. So then they can get rid of the problem. But shame is just part of the melting pot, if you like. It's just in that emotional pressure cooker which we all carry, and what we're doing is taking the lid off and letting the pressure out. And then the people just get better.
A lot of these experiences can mold people into who they are today. Do you ever find that during regression, that have you ever had a case where it hasn't been effective, or has it always been a positive outcome?
Oh no, there are cases where it doesn't work. Admittedly, I usually find it's about 80% effective. It's a very high rate.
Incredible.
It's got to be done correctly, but it's about 80%, which either means 80% of people get completely better, or they get 80% better, which is a substantial improvement. But there are occasions where it just doesn't seem to happen. Not everybody regresses. So, some people don't seem to regress very easily. Some people can be resistant as well. And that can get in the way if somebody resists. But in most cases, it is very, very effective. Most cases, yeah. I have a client in the States at the moment. He's a gentleman, and he's sticky to work with. We've done a couple of sessions, and we've got little bits of stuff coming through in past lives. But he's a control freak. He's a real control freak. He's a extremely successful businessman. So he's sort of lived his life in the control seat, and now I'm asking him to close his eyes and let go of that, and he struggles a little bit. Funnily enough, though, his chocolate addiction has already vanished.
I'd like to keep
That's
mine.
funny. Yeah. Yeah,
I'd like to keep mine.
I could see how that would be very unnerving, because to somebody like that, I've often had people say to me, like, you're a powerhouse, like you have to just let go some of that angst. And I'm like, what do you mean I don't have angst? No, you're a little volatile. What? but I really am. So I can relate to this individual, because it's almost like you're exposing your belly and you're being asked to just be vulnerable for a moment and trust you with all of that. And that can be really hard, to be submissive in that way.
Private moment, right?
Yeah. As well as that, of course, in a lot of cases, males don't often want to let go of emotions very easily.
That's true.
I mean, I would say about 60 to 70% of my clients are female, and they always have been. And because women are much more able to let go of emotions, much more trusting, I think, as well, whereas men often sort of lock it in. But those men who are able to let go, then it works magnificently well.
I think it's because women, like we're very emotional creatures, like the women are from Venus and men are from Mars, sort of thing. Left side, right sided thinking. Yeah, I don't know. It's not that easy to give up or relinquish power or control, no matter how bad you want to find out what's going on. It's like there's got to be another way.
Trust is so important. The therapy process. You've got to have trust in the therapist. And that can, if you don't really trust the person you're working with, then that can get in the way. So I always say to my clients, I often say, if you really don't trust me, then find another therapist, because there'll be somebody out there who's more right for you.
You have to be compatible. You have to trust. You have to feel comfortable. You would have no issue with me. I go out like a light. You count 3, 2, 1, and I'm gone. So yes,
I've kind of got the one eye open.
Yeah, Michelle would have the one eye open while I'm under too. She'd be watching you, watching me. But yeah, I would just be like, okay, gone. I'm done. Ready. I'm terrible that way, but I fall asleep during meditation. So I'm very trusting, but it's more the privacy side. Like sometimes you're afraid of what you have to. I'd be afraid of what I'd have to confront, because I like to think I'm a good person and that I do things for others and I try really hard to serve. And I wouldn't want to know that I haven't always been this way. I think that would be, the one thing holding
what's going to come
back
out of the closet?
Yeah,
and the therapist goes,
what if I was a terrible person in another life?
This is a good point. I mean, there's the people some people worry about that, and I will say that in the scheme of things, it appears we've lived many, many lifetimes. My take, we've lived thousands of lifetimes. Tibetan Buddhism says we've lived countless lives over countless aeons of existence. So for me, we've lived many thousands of lives. We've done everything. We've been good, we've been bad, we've killed, we've been killed, we've murdered, we've been murdered, we've raped, we've been raped, we've been rich, we've been poor, etc., etc. So in the grand scheme of things, there are some past lives where we will have been the aggressor. However, in therapy terms, I would say 95% of past life therapy sessions, we are the victims. And so in the vast majority of cases, it's actually things that have happened to us. We've been the victim, or we've died horribly, or we've lost our loved ones, etc., etc. So in the vast majority of cases, that's what it is. So also, we must remember that our subconscious mind, and the older I get, I mean, I've been doing this job for nearly 29 years now, and my model of the subconscious is that our higher self is connected to the subconscious, may even be the subconscious. What does that mean? It means that your subconscious, it only gives you what you can take. It has our interests at heart. It protects us. In the same way, for example, when I do regression with children, and I regress children from 7 years upwards, and you would think, well, I'm often telling stories about how my clients have died in past lives and it's horrible and people are crying and shaking. That doesn't happen with a child. When a child is in a past life, it's actually more of a fantasy past life, where sometimes everything is quite nice. I had a young lad, I think he was 11, who came to me with a severe lack of confidence. And there were 2 past lives we worked in. But one of the past lives, he was just a young boy of about 11 in his experience, and he was living on some sort of desert island type place or by the beach, and he was just collecting shells every day and having a heck of a time on the beach. And you think, well, how's that going to work? How's that going to get him better? His confidence went through the roof after that. I don't know how that worked, but it worked. So the subconscious protects. It doesn't let a child experience all horrible, terrible things. And it works very well with children very often, because children, of course, are very imaginative as well. So it doesn't matter whether it's real or not. It works for children. So, Amelia, don't worry. You know, even if you've been bad in a past life, you can take it. You really can.
I'm just wondering, because I think about it all the time. I think, oh my gosh, you know, I'm so grateful for the life that I have, and I wonder, like, what price did I have to pay to get there, or is it just the karma of now? I don't know. It's a spiritual battle, right?
Yeah,
in your
because
mind,
this life could be like punishment.
you know,
it's
well,
like,
this
damn
is
it, I'm in
punishment.
purgatory.
Wow.
How this happen?
Yeah, she says that as she, wait a minute. She says that as she sits on a throne. I mean, a throne, a real throne.
See, I'm telling you, it's back there.
I'm sitting on a throne. She's sitting on a throne. No lies, Steve. Was that important from Romania too? That tough life that you have.
It's difficult. Which brings
you know,
me
the
to my
Templar armor in the background.
Which brings me to my next question. Do you ever, you know, I believe that there's a reason we're not allowed to retain everything. You know, maybe not just trauma. Maybe it's things like longing and grieving deaths that have long gone and people maybe who haven't returned with us. Have you ever encountered somebody where it got worse because they tapped into something and they remember maybe a lost love or the love of having a child, or do you ever have problems like that where you just have to try to bring them back from that?
No. Remember, the subconscious will give them what they can take, and there's a reason for them going into stuff. Right. So if they go into something like that, then it will get them better. It really will. Right. So the only way you make people worse with this is if you don't do the job properly, if you bring them back too quickly and too soon. So because the emotion has to be released, and if you don't release the emotion or the energy, then you can bring somebody back and they can still feel the energy sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes.
Or you bring them back like me, full of angst.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Just saying.
She's not full of angst. She's one of the calmest people I know.
Yeah. It's funny. I had a childhood friend. We were best friends for a lot of years. She suffered a lot of trauma and anxiety. She developed anxiety later in life. I say probably at about 30 years of age. So she went to get regressed through, her psychiatrist recommended it and worked with her. But she hit a block as soon as she realized that there was sexual abuse in the family. She hit a block, and you know what? They just couldn't get her back any further. It was like a plateau. And I guess, is that resistance, or is it just, there's just no way to get them past once they hit that? She never could.
It could be resistance. It could be she was just consciously resisting and really didn't want to go there. It could be her subconscious wouldn't let her go there. Right. Remember, the subconscious has a wisdom. It has a wisdom, and it may have thought she's not able to take this. She would not be able to integrate this into her life at this moment. So, yeah, it may be that either one of those two things, I would think, either a resistance or the subconscious is saying it's not safe. Don't take her there.
Yeah, she never recovered from it and passed away like at 36. Oh, yeah, it's just really, it's okay. It's just a long time ago now, but it goes to show, I guess, how strong the human mind is. It's like, no, I'm just not doing it. But she could never overcome it all after that.
No, of course. That's very sad. It may be as well, excuse me, it could be the therapist wasn't good enough, wasn't it? Excuse me, it's nearly 3 o'clock here.
You need to get a drink.
Believe me, we'll give you all the time you want.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
No, it could be that the therapist wasn't skilled enough.
Yeah,
as well. You've got to know what you're doing with this, and if a therapist isn't skilled, they may not be able to break through where a more skilled and experienced therapist possibly would be able to get something coming through. So sometimes you have to tease things out of the subconscious. Just tease it out little by little, and you put pieces in a jigsaw. and eventually you get a big picture. So sometimes there's a safe way to going about things. And, you've got to know what you're doing, of course. Generally, it's very safe. Generally, it's incredibly safe. But there are safeguards we need to take.
Oh, I think a lot of it was with her. I don't think you can. I mean, how can you look at some of that and realize it's, you're just not going there. The anxiety got worse, and then alcohol and prescription drugs. And, I think for the most part, it can help. I've met a lot of people where it has helped. I just think that, sometimes some people just don't have the strength.
No.
Also.
No.
Nothing works for everybody.
That's right. That's right.
Be part of their path, just part of their path.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is that as well. Yes. Yeah.
You mentioned spirit attachments through regression. How do you recognize that, and what happens when you do? Because we deal with spiritual attachments in a paranormal, supernatural way, but how is that for you?
There are two ways, actually, Amelia. One way is that sometimes I do get a sense of something which is a bit creepy, and it doesn't feel comfortable to me. But I don't like to get involved in things too much. I do use my intuition, but I use a technique which in the hypnotherapy world we call an ideomotor response. And this is what I do in most of my sessions. So if I run through this, I'll answer your question in a moment. So let's say a client comes to me and they have a problem. Well, whatever it is, let's just say depression. I will take them into trance, into hypnosis, and then I will ask the subconscious to start to take control over one of the fingers. When it happens all by itself, it could be a thumb or a finger, but generally a finger starts to feel very light and it moves. What I'm then doing is I'm then using the movements as a means of the subconscious saying the word yes to me. So I am then asking the questions of the subconscious. The client is laying there with their eyes closed. They realize a finger is moving and they're laying there thinking, wow, this is weird. My finger's moving all by itself. And I'm just asking the subconscious, whenever it wants to say yes to a question, the finger just raises. So I'll then say to the subconscious about the depression. And bear in mind that depression is caused by locked-in anger. And underneath anger, there's nearly always sadness. So I'm asking the subconscious, whereabouts in the past have the traumas taken place which are connected to causing the depression in this life? And I'll ask, is there anything in this present lifetime? And we may get a yes. I'll ask, are there any past lives? We may get a yes. I then ask, how many past lives? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? And we'll get a figure. And then I'll ask, are there any ancestral traumas? And we'll get a yes or a no. What I've then done is diagnose the roots of the problem. So we've got a sense of where we need to go. Now, it may be that we'll do lots of regression sessions or several regression sessions. We'll clear all the stuff, all the baggage, all the emotional crud that they've been carrying. And they may not be fully better. I may then ask another question. Are there any spirit attachments? Are there any spirits of people or things that have died and not fully passed over? And occasionally I'll get a yes. And if I get a yes, then I then go through a spirit release protocol, which is about sending the spirit home and sending it away, and sending it with love to where it should have gone when it died. And in most cases, those spirits are just lost and confused. They're scared. Maybe they've been brought up in their life to believe that hell is there waiting for you. Mm-hmm. And therefore they're terrified of moving on. And we say there isn't a place as hell. Hell doesn't exist. It's just something that was created by the Catholic Church to scare people.
Thank you.
Because I've done.
We all
I've
agree.
done
Send
15,000.
Steve Burgess the hate mail, please. Thank you.
Send it to.
Thank you.
Send the email to Steve Burgess. I'll
Burgess,
post that later.
You heard it right
I
here.
actually say I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of past life regressions. I'm taking people through the deaths into spirit. I have never ever had anybody who was reported in the regression that they've gone to a hell realm or a hell.
That's so interesting.
It just doesn't happen. So that's my belief, and this is my belief, and I don't want to be.
Oh no, it's interesting because there have been people who have this, like, said, I'm going down, I see a light over there, and I get sucked in over here, and I'm lake of fire and all kinds, fire and brimstone, and so that just tells me that it's belief system.
I think
that
so.
You're going through the motions of belief system. When you see attachments, do you ever see anything other than human spirits attached? ET, interdimensional, or I guess what, because of mindset, people would maybe consider demonic or, even angelic, I guess, in some way.
I think, there are a couple of ways of answering that, Michelle. I think from my perspective and my experience is that the vast majority of spirits are human and they are lost. They are confused and lost. However, there are some nasty ones. And I actually did have one nasty one. A girl came to me. She was, I think, 14 or 15, and she had depression and she was struggling at school. And her mom came with her and sat in on the session. And I'm glad her mom did sit in on the session because. But the girl said at times when I look at myself in the mirror, it's as if I can sort of see half of myself coming out or something coming out of myself. And when she said that, I immediately thought, I think this is spirit attachment, but I don't know. I stay out of it. So I took her into trance, asked the questions of the subconscious. Are there any events in this life, etc., etc.? And it said no to everything. So I asked again, and it still said no, because I didn't want to ask. This is the first session. This girl had come with a mom, and the mom's sitting behind me. And I'm thinking, if I'm going to start talking about spirit attachments, they're going to walk out. But I asked the question, are there any spirits attached? And it said yes. Subconscious said yes. So we then went through a spirit release, and there were two spirits. One was a young boy, a child, and he went home easily. He just went off. But she said the girl was laying there with her eyes closed again in trance, and this other spirit, she said, is a man in black. And he's standing behind you over by your bookshelves. And as she said that to me, I got a shiver that ran all the way up my spine. And I'm pretty earthbound most of the time. So, we seemed to moving on, but we weren't sure whether he'd gone or not. Anyway, the girl came out of trance. We finished the session. She felt a lot better. And I turned to her mother expecting her to attack me. And the mom said, do you know, I thought that was the problem. I wondered if she had spirits attached to her. So they left. But when they left, I had a strange feeling in my office. And I was living in a house and working in this place at the same time. And I didn't feel comfortable. And all of that evening, something was watching me. And I went to bed and I didn't feel comfortable. Something was around. I woke up the next morning, it was the same. So I called a friend of mine who's a white witch or an ex-white witch, and he used to do house clearances and all sorts. And I said, I think I've got a spook here, Andy. Would you mind coming over? And he said, yeah, sure, I'll come tomorrow, Steve. So can't you come today?
What? Tomorrow? What kind of friend are you?
You were that uncomfortable. Are you? We can do this by Zoom. Let's just get it done.
That's easy.
Yeah. But anyway, he couldn't come that day. But he came the next day. But the energy had changed. It had gone. And he came around the house and he did his stuff. And he said, it's gone, Steve. I think the energy here is too light. It's just too light. It didn't want to be here. It's they tend to attach to people who are depressed or gloomy or in pain.
That's true.
And of course, the energy in my office is hopefully quite a sacred energy. So it didn't want to stay, thankfully. But he said the men in black and the men in green, they're the ones you've got to worry about. So some spirits can be unpleasant, and but
Yeah.
they're very, very rare. That's the only ever time I've had that, the vast majority. And we don't have many spirit attachments, but they do come through. Going back to your question about ETs, are there any attachments from an ET perspective? I can't remember having an attachment that was ET, although I do abduction regressions. I have done quite a lot of extraterrestrial regressions.
So cool.
And,
because there's a lot of trauma with being abducted. Do you find abduction patients, people?
Yes.
Wow.
I appeared on a Sky TV program some years ago, which is actually still on YouTube, called The Real 4400. And these are about people who have had missing time experiences.
Yeah.
And what this was about, the producer called me and asked if I would regress a lady. Her and her family believed they'd been abducted. And the story was that there's a lady in her 40s, let's say, and her mum in her 60s. And this lady had two young children, I think the boys about 10 and 11 years old, or 9 and 10 years old. They all went for lunch one day to a restaurant in England. And as they left the restaurant and got back in the car and started to drive home, all of a sudden, a spacecraft came right down along the side of the car. And as she was driving on the road, it was shining lights into them. And they just had this amazing euphoric sense of euphoria. They were all really high and they felt love. And then the thing shot off at the speed of light. It just rocketed away at the speed of light. And they all felt real sadness and they were really a loss because this thing had gone. They had such an amazing feeling. Well, of course, all they could talk about on the way home was about this spaceship. They arrived home to find that a journey which should have taken 20 minutes had taken an hour and 20 minutes. They'd lost an hour of their lives, and they all felt something had happened. And in the coming days and weeks, the boys started to get nightmares and panics and anxieties. They got very upset because they knew something had happened, but they couldn't put the fingers on it. So the producer asked me if I'd regress on camera the mother of the two boys, and he made sure I didn't have any contact with her beforehand. He didn't want me sort of spoiling things in any way or leading her. When I'd never lead clients, I'd never do. It's always about it coming from the clients. Anyway, I took her into trance, and what happened? She started to then relive what had actually happened. As they were driving along and the spacecraft came down, it actually took the whole car up into the spaceship.
Oh, wow.
They were taken out of the car, and they stood in this very dark place. And there were lights and orbs which started to come down and shine around them as if they were reading them in some way or scanning them. And there were beings in the craft. They couldn't see the beings. They were on the other side of a shield. But they were communicating telepathically with them. And she started to laugh. She said, the boys are laughing because these lights are shining around them. And then all of a sudden, as the main light started to come towards the boys, she started to cry. And she got frightened. She said, no, not the boys are my boys. And then all of a sudden she relaxed and she smiled. She said, no, they're telling me they're not going to hurt us. They're not going to hurt us. It's all going to be okay. And she relaxed. So this went on for a little while, and then they were put back into the car. The car was lowered onto the road, and then they carried on driving, and the spaceship shot off.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
And now people who don't understand these things would say, oh, well, they're all stupid. They were all making it up. But why would this family of four make that up? They were normal people. They were functioning human beings. They were not, straight out of a psychiatric wing of a hospital. They were normal, everyday people. And they knew something had happened. And as a result of reliving that, what a relief it was for them. They're not going mad. We know something happened, and they can start integrating that into their lives. So I've done quite a bit of extraterrestrial stuff over the years. And I do honestly believe that these experiences are very real, very real.
Oh, I believe it.
She's got a whole other reason for that, but
that's a thing. That's
it's definitely it.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, thank you. I was just gonna say I think it's incredible that you can regress that kind of situation, that kind of it's almost tragic to live with that fear of didn't I, and then you're able to help heal them. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah,
that is great, because when people think regression, they automatically go to past life, but what about experiences now and how to cope with that? That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So,
it can be ongoing as well, though, the abductions. So how do you deal with that? Do you have to keep regressing, or because it's usually a thing, and it's very hard for people to bounce back from that and be functional in society, for some.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I'll be quite honest. I've rarely used ET abduction regression stuff. I've rarely used that as a therapy. It's mainly been people who have just wanted to find out. I've had an experience. I can't make sense of it. And they've got some sense of it. And then for them, that's enough. But my understanding is that, yes, quite often, if somebody has had an abduction experience, it's probably happened more than once. So yes, in that case, they would need to have a lot more work. But to be honest, most people are just happy to get verification that it did happen. I'm not going mad. It really did happen. And sometimes what happens is once we open the door in the mind, other doors start to open. So it's almost as if once this initial door is open and they start getting some information, the subconscious starts to say, okay, we're safe enough now. We'll let it have a little bit more information and a bit more. So as they go on through the weeks and the months, other doors open and they get more information about other experiences.
Yeah.
Spooky stuff.
It can be. I just, I do spooky stuff on a whole other level. But it brings a case to mind that we have done of a little boy who, for some reason, there are really dark things attached to him. I don't know if it comes in through dreams or what it is. You remember, Amelia, the little one who, when tapping into him, he had killed someone in his life, probably several people.
That was traumatic to tap into, let alone I can't imagine what it's like for him to live with that.
Yes, and just seems to gets into dream state, and we don't really know why, but things just seem to follow this one back. And even mom, they were connected in a life as spouses, and she was like an abused spouse. It's just bizarre. So I think, it just brings to mind, are some people just targeted, in this life for atonement, or for, because they can't deal with all of that, and now you have to deal with it now?
It could be. Karma is there all the time. We can't run away from karma. And it bites us on the bum sooner or later. So for some people, the karma that ripens in this lifetime is heavy shit. It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
For some people, there's got a lot of heavy karma ripening. For me, the job of a therapist is to help them through that, so that once they've released a lot of the emotional pain, they can start being free again. But I do think that in some cases where people live, of course, the place that they live, the house, could actually be bringing in things. Sometimes there's a portal there where stuff is coming through. Sometimes the house is built on something that's happened in the past, an old burial ground or whatever. Sometimes there can be even paths, can't there? Spirit paths that go through a house. So there's a regular trail of spirits coming through. So I think, there's a big picture sometimes. As the therapist, I'm just wanting to work on the stuff. Let that person's emotional stuff come through, because that will lighten the load. And once you lighten somebody's load, the energy they give off is gentler, and they are less likely to draw the negative stuff to themselves. You know, the law of radiation and attraction. If you're radiating stuff out subconsciously, there's a chance you're going to radiate the same stuff back, attract it back.
I commend you for having an open mind, because that's I think half the battle for somebody who you're trying to reach in this manner. You know, if the therapist doesn't have an open mind, then what do? You're trying to be traditional, and traditional doesn't always work.
It stinks in most cases, I'm sorry to say. You know, I don't like to be controversial and attack. It's not my way.
No,
I have been doing
it
this
is
a long time.
It's a thing,
and
right?
I've heard some terrible stories about standard therapy. And, you know, it doesn't work in so many cases. And
I've lived through those nightmares. No, I've lived through those nightmares with my gifts and the wrong therapist. How do you release after you talk about the release of your patients and how you assist them? How does Steve Burgess brush all of this off after? Like, what do you do? Do you feel drained after a session? What do you do to feel better?
Vodka.
Vodka. That works for me.
I like it.
So like vodka and I'm under the table. So like really,
that works.
That's a little too functional. Sniff it, I'd still fall over.
I think I'll be like that nowadays. I haven't drunk alcohol for goodness knows how many years now, 15 years. So, no, I think there's a couple of things. My own spiritual path nowadays. I mean, I was a practicing Buddhist for many years. Nice. And I think with a sort of a Buddhist outlook on life, you do tend to see things differently. Nowadays, I'm certainly following the non-duality way of being and thinking, from a sort of a Taoist and a Zen perspective, and that helps me to stay balanced, because I want to be balanced for my clients. I've got to walk my talk. Secondly, I do have therapy, so I let go of my stuff. I release my stuff. You know, therapists don't always have therapy. They always think everybody else has got the problem, but not me. I want to be healed as much as anybody, so I have therapy. And thirdly, when my clients are in their stuff, especially if it's really horrible stuff, a part of me is going, yes, because this will get you better. So the more that people are crying and shaking, the more inside I'm celebrating that. And a lot of therapists struggle with this, because they struggle with clients crying or, you know, getting upset or shaking. For me, no, get in there, release the emotional pain, and people get better. And that's what drives me on. That's what driven me on for 28, 29 years now. Because, you know, I just know this stuff works, and I know how well it works. So to be honest, I don't really take on too much stuff. I think I'm very lucky in a way. Stuff great. Tends to sort of bounce off me a bit for those reasons.
So what do you do if you have like a hardcore religious mindset who doesn't believe in past lives or, you know, ancestral ties or trauma or anything like that? How do you penetrate that shell?
Well, I mean, probably they won't come to me anyway.
Just throw it out there. It's all right.
You never know. They might be a gift from a friend.
Asking for a friend.
It depends on how the person is. I mean, let me give you an example. I had a gentleman came to me who was an alcoholic. Now, he was a top barrister in London, very high up barrister, you know, working in the legal profession. But he was a functional alcoholic. He came to me because his girlfriend, she was a functional alcoholic for 16 years. And she came to me, and after one session of regression, she stopped drinking. It was remarkable. Just one session. She came to me to prove that Burgess couldn't help her. She was made to come to see me by a friend. So she thought, right, I'll go and see this clever dick with this beard.
Oh, it's a dare.
And he's not going to help me. Yeah. Well, after one
who do you think he is?
It was like that. And so she got her life back. Okay, we did other regression sessions. So she lived in the First World War as a soldier, and she died in the trenches. She lived in Roman times. She was eaten by lions in the amphitheater. She was on an old sailing ship.
I'd be drinking too.
Yeah.
Horrible stuff.
Yeah.
But we released all that. So she got her life back. So when they got together, strange, of course, how alcoholics do connect in this way. She wanted him to see me. So he came to see me, and he sat in front of me in my office and said, okay, Burgess, don't even think about past lives with me. I'm a Roman Catholic. I was brought up as a Roman Catholic. My parents are quite high up in the Catholic sort of church. Don't even think about past lives. So I said, well, okay, I don't know where we need to go. Your subconscious knows. All I ask you to do is just experience the experience and see what happens. Okay, he said, well, guardedly. I guided him into trance, gentle hypnosis. I asked his subconscious to create the finger movements. And then I asked his subconscious about the traumas that were causing the alcohol problem. All addictions are just a way of anesthetizing emotional pain. That's what an addiction is. It softens or anesthetizes emotional pain. Alcohol especially is about forgetting the past. Are there any traumas in this present lifetime causing the emotions, the locked-in emotions causing the alcohol problem? No. Are there any past lives? And the finger went up. And the look on this fella's face when he's laying there, he was no, and he was trying to fight it, but the finger went up. Now, I always ask the subconscious permission to work on the stuff, and it said yes. He went back into a past life in the French Revolution, where he was a wealthy man in France, and he fell in love with a beautiful woman. And as a result of the revolution, they got separated. And although neither of them died, but she had to flee abroad in order to save her life, and they never saw each other again. And so that pain of loss had been inside him all his life, and his way of anesthetizing the pain was through alcohol. So now I'll give him his due. He worked through that in the session. He could have totally gone against that. So I'm not doing this, but he went with it. And at the end of the session, when he came out of trance, I mean, he was shocked. What was that about? Hang on, I don't believe in past lives. So my way is not to be confrontational. And I said, well, it could have just been a metaphor. Your subconscious created a metaphor, which is going to help you to heal. And if that's the case, it's okay. For me, it's a past life. You just treat it as a metaphor. So it depends on the individual, Michelle. Going back to your question, if somebody has got strong beliefs, then the chances are they will block it. Because when we're in hypnosis, we can block things. Nobody's under my control. We're just in a nicely relaxed state, sometimes a deeply relaxed state. But if a person lets things happen, sometimes they are really surprised and they have to change their belief systems a little bit. So my role is just to get them better. That's the most important thing. And if a client's subconscious says, yes, this is okay, we do it.
Excellent.
Subconscious knows best.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amelia.
Thank you. We have a leg here, so we do this one finger thing, so I can see if someone else is speaking or not. No, never. Always hard. Always love. I wanted to ask you, do you see a lot of, you're speaking of gladiators and soldiers and wars. Is this common that you're seeing a lot of common eras coming forward through regression? Does that mean anything? Does it just mean that this whole group is coming forward now to go back in order to be better forward? Or is just because hypnotherapy and regression is a thing right now that everybody's seeking?
That's a really clever question, actually. A very good question.
There you go, Bubbles. Awesome.
And that really is.
I get one every now and then. Every now and then I get one.
So in general terms, there are these sort of historical periods that come through. I think are just sort of happenstance. I think it just happens that way. However, there are some themes which occur in past life regression, which I think are very significant. One is the many people who have lived past lives as Native Americans, who are around on Earth now, and the reason for that is because Earth is in such a terrible state, and it needs that that ethnic sort of way of thinking about nurturing the Earth, mothering the Earth, caring for the Earth. So my belief is that many people who have been Native Americans are being reborn now in order to help in that way. But sort of going off at a tangent with this are the people who have lived past lives as witches or have been accused of being witches. And I have had hundreds of people over the years, hundreds, who have had past lives where they've been accused of being witches. Usually they've been killed, of course, or they've certainly been persecuted and punished. Many of them were not witches, they were just herbal healers, and in some cases they were just accused of this in order to bump them off or out of jealousy. But certainly the theme of witches is a common one. And I so often find that my client, if the client is psychic now, clairvoyant in some way, they have almost certainly had a past life, sometimes several past lives, where they have had that witchy way of existence. And I can give you an example. I mean, one lady who I knew very well, who very clairvoyant, and she could have been a very gifted clairvoyant. She wanted to do that, but she had a massive blockage. She was terrified of if she had to do a clairvoyant, a reading for somebody. The idea of sitting there in front of somebody, looking at her, and she's having to then come up with stuff from wherever, it terrified her. Well, I think she had 8 past lives, in each of which she'd been punished, sometimes horribly, for doing something, in a witchy way. So, I mean, in one past life, she had her tongue cut out to stop her from giving messages and things like that. So that's a theme that I find is a really prevalent one. More than anything, that's the biggest thing that I come upon, as well as Native Americans.
And I'm happy for her that she has this present life and had you so that she could see that we have come a long way since then, because that's probably something in that lifetime she always wished for, that she could help by using her gifts, right? And she accomplished that when you think about it. See, if everybody would just have a regression, we'd all be happier people.
Yeah.
Mankind
and in some cases,
is cruel,
In some cases, what happens there is that when they're dying, let's say being drowned, I've certainly had more than one client who've thought to themselves, I am never, ever going to come out in this way ever again. I'm never going to talk about this. I'm never going to share my gifts ever. So that causes the block in this life. And of course, they are much more naturally clairvoyant than most of us, because it's been happening for lifetimes. And it's so sad if they block that gift. So when they let go of that blockage and that mistaken belief that they have to keep it down, then their clairvoyant skills come through. So, and it's the same with illness, with physical illness. So many physical illnesses are caused by blocked in emotions.
I needed you when I was 16. I really did. I needed you when I was 16. If I had that, because I had terrible therapy, trying to understand my gifts. If I had that, I think mind you, I know my life, I don't have any regrets on anything. Everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that you are where you are because of all the choices that were made in life and all of your directions and paths. But I think that I would have been a little bit easier on myself than if I had the right. They tried to do the hypnosis with me, but it ended up creating more damage than good.
Yeah, and this can happen. And again, depending on the therapist, I mean, I know there are psychiatrists who do hypnosis, but do they do it very well? Just because somebody's a psychiatrist doesn't mean to say that they can do everything very well. And sometimes the training they have is a day or two.
It's minimal, yeah.
And
no experience.
A lot of they don't like to do regression again because, you know, you're not in control in a regression session. It feels like that for some therapists. Actually, you are in control because the subconscious is in control. But, you know, it means that you've got to let the client go where they need to go and you follow the client. Many therapists are not comfortable with that. They want their flip chart or the clipboard and they just go through everything.
A textbook.
Yeah.
Everything in order, go a certain way, don't step outside the box. Yeah.
And this is can of worms therapy. We're opening up a can of worms. You don't know where it's going to lead you to. So, you know, you've got to go with it, but you must trust the client's subconscious knows the best for the clients. And if you follow that, then great things happen.
But this isn't a new technique. I mean, I go back to, you know, I was talking about Edgar Cayce earlier, you know, the sleeping prophet. I mean, a little bit different. He wasn't a therapist, but he would just trance and then tap into an individual and work with them based on past life, much like what you're doing. Just, I guess, from the other side, he's the one that's under, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he was probably one of the first, I think, who delved into that a bit.
Yeah. And of course, nowadays, regression in a way is regarded as old-fashioned because, yes, there are lots of newer therapies which have come along in the past 20, 30 years. And I use them and trained in a lot of them. But regression for me is the deepest therapy I know. And I've used lots and trained in lots, but it's the deepest therapy I know. And when it works, it just takes your breath away. When it just works, sometimes it works quickly. So shall I tell you some stories?
Please.
I was just going to say to you, can you tell us some fun stories?
Yeah, tell us a story, Steve. It's getting late. We're cozying in.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's getting early for him, poor guy.
It's absolutely. I mean, these are some of some cases from the book, Power of Past Life Regression, my new book. So I had a lad who came with migraines. Now, my experience with migraines, they are usually caused by deaths in past lives where there has been blows to the head. Usually, not always, but usually.
Interesting.
This boy was.
It is interesting because I suffer from them.
Okay, he was 13 years old, and every 3 weeks he was getting migraines. He was off school for several days, and he was a very intelligent kid, and it was obviously spoiling his schooling. And bear in mind, again, this is a 13-year-old boy with no belief, no knowledge of past lives. This is not, you know, his mom was not as we are into spiritual things, but she sat in on the session and she watched what happens. There were 8 past lives causing his migraines. And this boy was a fast worker. We cleared all 8 past lives in 1 hour, just over an hour.
Wow.
I'm making an appointment.
I wish it happened like that every time. What we call a one session wonder. But it went. I can't remember the order of the past lives, but let's say he went into the first past life, and he was a man standing in a garden, but his wife was having an affair, and she came up behind him with a big spade, and she smacked him around the back of the head and killed him, and he fell dead to the floor.
Wow.
And then he went straight into the next past life, where he was driving a car in the 60s with no seatbelt, and a lorry came and smashed into the car, and he smashed his head on the driving wheel and died. And he went into the next past life where he was an old man climbing up a wobbly wooden staircase, and one of the stairs was wobbly, and he lost his footing and landed on his head, dead. And he went into the next past life where he was a young kid at school, and he kicked the school bully. So the school bully got hold of him and started smashing his head against the wall. killed him dead. And he went into the next past life where he was a man in a pub and he had an argument with two men and they beat him to the ground and then started kicking him in the head, dead, etc., etc. And we it was just so fast. There was no crying. It was just going into them, letting go of the energy. Remember, he's 13. So his subconscious just let him release them. There was no massive traumas. And I mean, I always remember when I turned at the end of the session and looked at his mum, and his mum was just sitting there with a jaw on the floor after what she just witnessed. The migraines were completely cured. I mean, it was just, okay, we had a little bit more work to do after that, but it was cured.
So what about like the wife who nails him in the head with the garden spade, and she comes through this life with him, and she's mom sitting in the room?
Could be.
Just seriously with that freaking thing. I don't know. Like that would be awkward because it happens with, people following through just role play. Yeah.
Jeez. But his subconscious didn't give him that because he wasn't necessary. Right. If it had been necessary, he would have got that, and then it would have been integrated into his life. Mm-hmm. Yes. He probably would be careful if his mum was in the garden with a spade for the rest of his life. But sometimes it's as fast as that, and yet other times it can be several past lives that we bring in the stuff. So I had a woman who was depressed, severe depression. She'd been depressed for years, and I think there were 7 past lives there, if I remember rightly, causing the depression. And in one of them, she was a young mom who had a child, and the little boy grew up, but then he died, and she could never come to terms with the loss of the child. So she brought all that pain and loss into this life. In another past life, she was a flower seller in Victorian London, and she was very poor and very sick, and had to go to a doctor one day, and the doctor raped her and then murdered her. She went into another past life where she was a soldier, and she betrayed her comrades by being a coward. So those are just 3 of them. So she brought all these energies, all these negative emotions into this life, into her emotional pressure cooker. And once we took the lid off and released all the emotions over several sessions, the depression just went away. Physical problems, physical illness. One of my favorite stories is about a client who came with a severe back problem, lower back pain, and she'd had it for some time. She'd even had surgery in hospital. They couldn't find anything wrong with her back. They just stitched her up and sent her home with painkillers. So she was getting more depressed because the pain was there all the time. She couldn't train. She wanted to be fit and healthy. She was in her 40s. And this lady was a magistrate, so she wasn't certainly into past life stuff, very left brain lady. And her subconscious, when she went into trance, said there were 4 past lives causing the back pain. And the first past life was the biggie. And in the past life, she went into the Second World War, where she was a young Nazi soldier. And she was part of a Nazi war team going around Europe, robbing art treasures and shipping them back to Berlin. But then eventually things started to go wrong for the Germans, so she got shipped off to the Eastern Front, fighting in Russia. And it was horrible. This young man was very sensitive and hated every second of it and was terrified most of the time. And they were bogged down in the snow. And then she in the experience, she said, now remember, she's laying there with her eyelids closed, just relaxing. She's just recounting what she's seeing and what's coming to her. And she said, it's like there's a lull in the fighting. And I've just been told that in a village that we captured, which is behind our lines, there's an icon in the church there, which may be worth looking at to steal. So that young man, because he was only about 20, made the biggest mistake of his life. He jumped on a motorbike without an armed escort, and he rode about a mile to this little village. And he thought he was safe because the Germans had captured it. And what happened next was just so shocking. I'm going to underplay it because it might blow the speakers out if I did what she actually did. But she's laying in the trance, and I'm saying, so what's happening now? And she said, well, I've found the church. I've got off the motorbike, and the village is completely quiet. There's nobody about. I'm walking through the churchyard. I'm going to go to the door. And suddenly, with a scream, she leapt up in the air, leapt about 3 feet in the air, and crashed back into the chair and started coughing and choking. I've been shot. I've been shot. I've been shot.
Oh, wow.
And she then spent the next 20 minutes dying. She just got weaker and weaker. A Russian sniper had just shot her, left her to die.
That's hard.
But, I mean, basically, when the bullet went in and she leapt in the air and screamed, I wasn't expecting it. I mean, I jumped up, I hit my head on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And when we went back through that death several times, this is one of the features of regression work. Sometimes we have to go back through something over and over to fully release the energy. And we went back through it. And the next time the bullet went in, she still leapt and cried, but she took 10 minutes to die. The next time the bullet went in, she leapt about a foot instead of 3 feet, and she took 5 minutes to die. Then the last time when the bullet went in, she just went, oh, and it was done. Guess where the bullet went? It went straight through where the back problem was, in exactly the same spot as her back pain.
Okay.
Exactly the same place.
Wow.
As a result of that, and we cleared the other 3 past lives very quickly in other sessions, the pain completely went as though it had never existed.
That is interesting, how that can affect physical, a physical interaction. Like
I had a client in Oslo a couple of years ago. I was living in Norway for 3 to 4 years, been working in Norway for about 10 years, training therapists over there and getting hypnotherapy into Norway. And I had a lady who came and she had lip cancer of the lip. Now, cancer is always a complicated issue. There's often a lot of elements to it. But one of the elements are the emotional causes of the cancer. There were 2 past lives causing the cancer. In one of the past lives, she was a well-to-do lady, and she had a young servant, a man, and this man picked up the wrong signals from her. And one day he came over and he tried to kiss her. And this is maybe 200-300 years ago. And she was horrified, and she sort of pushed him away, and he was horrified. And he then slunk away. He was apologetic. He didn't realize he got the wrong signals from her. And she realized she couldn't tell her father, but she happened to tell, I think, a friend of hers about what had happened. And this friend told the father, and they executed this servant in front of her. So this was about speaking out. Remember, the mouth, the lip. It's the same if there's a problem in the throat. It's often about speaking out. In the second past life, she was in I think a tribe in Africa or something like that, and somebody raped her from her village, and then left her, and she couldn't tell anybody because if she told, nobody would want to marry her. So that was about not speaking out again. The first was about she spoke out and the servant was killed. In the second, she couldn't speak out. We worked through those past lives, released them. That lady made some lifestyle changes as well, which is always important with cancer. And she had some kinesiology. 5 months later, she sent me a message saying, Steve, I've been to the hospital. I've had all the tests. They cannot find a trace of cancer in my body.
Wow, fantastic.
Every illness has emotional causes. Every illness. Now, I'm not saying I can cure cancer all over the place. I'm not so silly, but every illness has emotional causes. And if you can work on the emotional causes, the illness will very often get better.
Wow, that's actually amazing. Do you want to get to some questions in chat, Amelia, since we're...
I've just got a lot of comments like, wow, oh my God. Wow.
Zach tagged you with a question.
Did he? Okay, yes, I missed that one. Sorry, Zach.
And as far as people asking for prices, go to the website, please. Go to your website. Sorry,
yes.
go ahead.
Okay. Lionheart-training.com is my website. I think you've got the links anyway. Usually put links
yeah. Just because people are asking about pricing, and that's not going to happen over the air. Sorry.
No, that's okay. No. But I do all of my sessions online nowadays. I have clients all around the world.
I'm going to be checking that.
I love doing them online. They go so well online. I resisted doing online sessions for years, and then I just gave in, started doing them. I wish I'd done online sessions 5 or 10 years ago.
I don't think the technology would have been the same 5 or 10 years ago. I think you're at prime time. Okay. Everything happens at the right time.
Right.
I'm sorry I missed this, Zach. Because I just got at Amelia. That's why I didn't catch it. Do people find that they knew their loved ones, friends, or enemies, etc., in their past lives? If so, do these individuals play the same roles, or do they interchange?
That's a good question. The first answer is yes. So people who are in our lives now in a significant role, we have definitely been around them in previous lifetimes. Now, yes, we change roles. So, your mother now could have been your son in another life, etc., etc. We change sex sometimes from life to life. Sometimes we're very close with a person in this life because we were very close in a past lifetime. Sometimes there's a negative energy because of things that have happened in a past life. So one way around this, and relationships. I mean, if there are relationship problems, there are nearly always past life problems, nearly always. So for me as a therapist is to work in the past lives, release the energies that are dividing people, and then the energies just soften and people start getting on with each other. Or you can get a sense that you were with somebody and the love grows. You become closer to that person. But the first answer is yes. People who are around us in a significant way now, we have definitely been around them in previous lifetimes.
Wow. Do you find that often people have the same culture in different lives, or are they various and international?
Just a good question. Again, it tends to be the same culture. It tends to be the same culture over several lifetimes.
That's funny.
So, people who I'm seeing now who have, in America, for example, they have usually been in America for quite a few lifetimes. And so, yes, it tends to be that. But we do change over many lifetimes. But, yeah, generally we are a similar culture.
Yeah, because people do migrate. I mean, my family migrated here in the, 1600s. So that's, and then, right from, from Vive la France, right?
Yeah.
But I do have to ask, because I did see something come up in your notes about being reborn as animals. That would explain my little PETA, my little teeny Chichi that just died. She was so bonded, like a child.
Right?
Now I want to come back as your dog if I have to come back as a dog, okay?
It does appear. Now, there is a spiritual tradition that when we've achieved a human rebirth over many lifetimes, we never go back into anything lesser than human. I think that is generally the case, but I have certainly had some clients who have had animal past lives. It doesn't happen often, but certainly it does happen. I had one lady who was a rabbit, and that was a pretty boring session for me because she just hopped around in the past life.
It's like, what a life.
A lady was a cat in a Greek temple. Somebody else was a camel in a camel market, and the stench of the camel market was terrible. She hated it. So yes, we can live. We do get that, but not very often. Not very often.
I was kind of fascinated by the man who was a rock.
Oh yeah. Well,
why?
I mean that's got to be the number one boring session for me, because you can imagine I'm saying, what's happening now? And he said, well, nothing. I'm a rock. I'm just watching the clouds go by. And that's so, but do you know, the funny thing is, Michelle, with this is that on the one hand, it's pretty bizarre. On the other hand, shamanically, it's said that everything has energy, and everything in shamanism is connected with. So when I did my shamanic training, we connected with trees, we connected with rocks, etc.
They do have a vibration and an energy.
Well, and Tibetan Buddhism says that every blade of grass has a Buddha in it. So maybe this man who was a rock, maybe there was a bit more to this than met the eye. But it's certainly a strange session for me.
Oh, I can imagine, but it's true. I mean, everything has a vibration and a frequency, and there are places in the world where they have what they call singing rocks.
Okay.
And you can tap on, singing. They call them singing rocks. I had somebody say this, and I went, God, what? I'm pretty open-minded. Okay, let's go with this. And and you could go and tap on them, and they would have all of these different frequencies and vibration, and people will go there and just tap on them and make music on these rocks. And I was just like, wow, that is absolutely fascinating. So then when I see this with you, I'm like, you're knocking all these little guys around. This is happen and stuff. Like I found that really fascinating. You said, it happened to this one man. It'd be interesting to see, because it's not exactly, people tend to gravitate towards their most glamorous lives, I think. So,
Yeah.
But
strange.
Interesting, for sure.
All my experiences for past lives that I know of, and I was going to ask you if they leak into your dreams, because these recurring dreams keep going back further and further for me. I've always been poor, very, very poor, and always, which I find not strange at all, always helping others through all of them. And that's why I asked you about culture, because so far, until I have a regression, I won't know. But from what I know now, I've only been Italian in this lifetime. And I'm almost thanking God for that. Sorry, everyone out there. But, I love my culture, but it's a beautiful culture. But I find it a little strange that it's the only one that I know of. But then again, never had regression. So just the little bit that I have experienced, I've been everywhere but.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'd love to connect my life back to Italy, since I can trace my father's family in Italy going all the way to the 600s. So it would be nice to see that, preferably as an artist, since I can't draw to save my life, and they built Pisa. So that's a little disappointing. But anyways.
Well, we use past lives as well in this way sometimes, to do what I call positive past life work. Most of the work is releasing trauma, but it is possible to go back into a past life and retrieve an ability or a quality or a resource that you want now, and bring it into your life now. So if, let's say, you wanted to paint or you wanted to be an artist, if we could find a past life where you've been an artist,
understands me,
then you bring that in. So it's actually possible to do that. And in my first book, Famous Past Lives, where I did meet some people who have been very famous in previous lives, one of them, I think, was Shakespeare, which is a heck of a name drop. But he came up with stuff that could have been. Nobody knows much about Shakespeare at all. You could write what is known about Shakespeare on the back of a piece of paper that big. But he came up with information which all fitted in what could have been Shakespeare's life. One of which was that because my client wanted to speak Italian better. He was going to Italian night classes because he loved going to Italy. He loved going abroad to Italy. And he wanted to speak the language, but he wasn't academic. He was not academic at all. His subconscious took him back into a past life where he was going around medieval Italy, learning the culture, learning stories to write about. And then he realized he was a playwright. And then it just came to him. He said, I think I'm Shakespeare. So he was then able to learn Italian much more easily at his Italian night class.
Look at that.
Because that, and of course, I think how many of Shakespeare's plays are based in Italy? Is it 15 or 16, something like that?
Romeo and Juliet is still very, very much cherished in Italy, where they do it really is true about the letters in the wall. That is true. It's not just the movie, but letters from Juliet. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You can go see the balcony and the home. It's quite lovely. It's based on a true story. Yes, but we still don't know if Shakespeare really wrote them. We're not positive about that.
I personally, I don't believe Shakespeare wrote them at all, because I've done a lot of research into this. But my client was adamant he was Shakespeare, and he was gathering information to write plays. But we're not sure whether he passed that information over to somebody else. And we're not sure. We could, because my client wasn't too visual. He couldn't see everything very clearly in his mind's eye. So, and mind's eye, that's a phrase from Hamlet. Shakespeare came up with the words mind's eye. So, but he couldn't see things too clearly. So it was, stuff came through and I did the best I could to make sense of it. But what I'm saying is we can go back and bring qualities from the past into now, and it helps us to do things better in this life.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
it's fantastic. I wish we actually had more time. We're already at the top of the
I think Steve's like dying to go to sleep right now.
That's okay. We'll let you go. But I am hoping that you will come back and maybe join us again sometime. And now that we actually have you in the system, it should be nice and easy to just get you on. And if you would join us again, Amelia will contact you and we'll throw some dates at you. And you'll have some time. We do book up quite a bit in advance, which means that we just have to wait longer to get you back. But
so much more to cover.
But please,
I want to hear about Queen Elizabeth I.
Okay, that's the next time. Yes, we'll talk about Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Mary, her sister.
I would love to hear about that, actually.
Yes.
Please tell everyone how to find you, social media, websites, what you've got coming up, books, anything.
Okay. Well, my new book is called The Power of Past Life Regression, The Power of Past Life Regression, published by 6 books. It's also an audio book on Audible and Amazon, because I recorded that. The Power of Past Life Regression is my main book. My website, lionheart-training.com, lionheart-training.com, and I have a WordPress site with my blogs and podcasts on, and that's hypnoblogpod.wordpress.com, hypnoblogpod.wordpress.com. And what I also have is a free YouTube channel with free hypnotherapy recordings. I just want to give hypnotherapy, get it out to the world. And that's called Hypno for All, HYPNO, the number 4 ALL, Hypno for All. But if you go on Lionheart-Training, you'll find all the information there. And if people want to contact me, then there's a contact form as well. So yeah.
Fantastic! My gosh, yes.
Thank you.
It was a rocky start. I'm just like, producer, get him on the phone.
I want to give a thanks to John Wooler as well for telling me all about you. He said you have to interview him. And I'm like, thank you so much, John, but thank you, Steve, so much for being here tonight and for taking the time so early in the morning right now. I hope you sleep well.
We always feel so bad for our overseas people. It's like we're all spry and ready to go, and by the end of the show, they're dropping off. So it's like, sorry.
I have a client in Madrid in 5 hours' time, so
oh my gosh.
You need some sleep.
Oh yeah, that's been great. Thank you. It's been a real pleasure being with you, ladies. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Night.
Well, everybody, we've come to another awesome segment here on The Outer Realm. And thank you to everybody who tuned in, and especially to Steve Burgess. What a champ for hanging in there with us.
Wow.
Huge thank you to Joe Montaldo for doing his whole Wizard of Oz behind the curtain bit for us and making this happen. Remember to stop by the United Public Radio YouTube channel if you haven't and subscribe. Don't forget to find us on the Outer Realm on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, message us, if you want to see somebody come on the show, you want to see us, cover something, get over to the Outer Realm and you can find our email address there and you can message us there as well. So tomorrow night, tune in as Bill Bean joins Amelia and I. You're not going to want to miss that. We're going to talk demons and exorcisms and all kinds of good stuff. As always, Bill never disappoints. So until then, behave. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night. Mm-hmm.
Phil's probably eating.
The guy behind the curtain isn't behind the curtain.
Pay no attention. This is just like the beginning of the show.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Won't
that.
be any different. That was great show. Wow.
It was really good.
There's a lot of information there.
I'm hoping you guys all enjoyed it also. That's a lot of really interesting information. Go over to his website. I know some people were asking about pricing and things like that, but that's sort of personal. So that depends on what you need and how many sessions, I imagine. So drop by his website and then see what where you go from there.
Yeah.
Sounds to me
all
like
his info's on our Facebook page.
Like getting rid of physical pain. It's like, good grief. That's like
my head. Could have used them yesterday. Couldn't lift my head off the pillow. Couldn't.
Oh. Night,
I'm
Evie.
texting Michelle and I'm like nauseous, like crazy. Texting you going, I can't function. And it started Sunday and it just kept going. Right now it's just a dull pain. It's not bad. And I didn't understand it because the sun was out full force yesterday here. So bright. I couldn't walk outside of my room because I have blackout curtains. I live like a vampire in my bedroom. It's very, very black. Even during the day, you have to turn on a light. Like it's so dark. I don't like the sunlight in my room. I know I sound horrible, but it's where I find my peace. And like every time I stepped out the door, I'm like, oh my God. It was like, but it's fascinating how he does that. With pain, the headaches, the back pain. I have all of that. I'm thinking, click, click, click. We need to make an appointment. I need to make an appointment with Steve. But yeah, that was phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. So Joe, anytime now.
Yeah, I messaged him. I said, okay, so we've actually said good night and signed off 5 minutes ago. But he's good. He lets us go on. So now we could just kind of hang out with you people and chat and just sort of have a little gab session. A lot of really good comments.
You're early, man. What's all this about?
We're early. There we go.
10:30,
well, it's not
man.
early for it's not early. I know it's not early for him though.
I know.
Our alarm
4 o'clock in the morning for him.
See, there we go. Thank you, Zach.